Good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Tonight we are going to be going back to an area that I've left for a little while, a few shows, Lake Como. And very often people say to me, how come you always go to Italy? Why don't you go somewhere else? And you're going to see some photographs tonight that are going to prove to you and show you why I like going to Italy so much. It speaks for itself. There's a Latin expression. I believe the expression is res ipsa loquitur. It means the thing speaks for itself. So I'm not going to answer the question of why I go to Italy so much. The show will tell you exactly why. So let's go to my album. There it is. The name of the show is Day Trips from Varenna. Varenna is the town on Lake Como that we always stay. And we took 2 day trips, one to a place called Baita Belvedere and one to a place called Fiumelatte. And that'll be the essence of the show. But first, this is a show I did a while ago. It was on train travel in Italy. And, I receive a lot of emails and messages through YouTube from fans and people who watch the show, and they always make various comments. This particular person made a comment that in this show I had put on the screen a ramp to the train station, which I said was probably used for handicapped people. And the person told me that he has spent a lot of time in Italy, and Italy is a very, very difficult place for physically challenged people. And in all likelihood, that was not a ramp for physically challenged people. It was something else. So I just wanted to correct that. And if he's watching, this is, just explaining. I had made a mistake, so I'm just correcting the mistake. This is the train station in Florence. Florence actually has a lot of train stations, and this is the one known as Santa Maria Novella, which is named after the church that's on the other side of the piazza from the piazza where the train station is located. And you can see that red truck over there on the left side. And if you look right where the front left headlight is located, there's a darkened area, and that's a ramp that I thought, let me see. Yeah, that's a ramp that I thought was used so that physically challenged people can go onto the, and then, if you think about it, what do they do then? Well, I thought they then get to this floor, and there's an elevator over there on the right side which is actually boarded up, so you couldn't even use it. So you use the escalator, but certainly not physically challenged people. The fact of the matter is that I can't imagine a physically challenged person using a train in Italy, or anywhere else really for that matter. It's just not a possibility. I guess if the person were able to actually get out of the wheelchair and be brought up to the train, and the wheelchair could then be brought on after. I mean, it's very, very difficult to imagine. The only place I've ever been really where I can imagine a wheelchair being brought around is probably Venice, which is predominantly flat, but then it would be very difficult to, because there's a lot of bridges in Venice. It would be very difficult to get a wheelchair up some of those bridges. But a wheelchair-bound person could use a vaporetto, which is the water bus. And, I in fact witnessed somebody in a wheelchair using a vaporetto. We were on the wheelchair. They opened up the doors, and everybody parted like the Red Sea in the Ten Commandments. And the person, was given tremendous, tremendous help by the people who worked on the boat to get on the boat. And the person was actually right in front of me. So it is possible to get around in Venice. Probably, a place like Florence, not that unbelievably difficult. It would be hard, but it's, more or less flat. But again, Italy is not for physically challenged people. So I don't know how people actually do survive in a place like that if they do have a physical handicap. So that sets the record straight. I guess that's a ramp where you could like wheel your suitcases, but not necessarily a wheelchair. This is one of the photographs that we took from a restaurant called the Baita Belvedere. And that's the view we had from the table that we were sitting at during the time that we were having lunch. And here's the whole story. So we were in Varenna, and there's a photograph of the town of Varenna on the eastern shore of Lake Como. It's an absolutely beautiful town that I've spent a lot of shows talking about. And one of the things you do when you're on Lake Como is you go around the lake on a ferry, visiting villas and visiting towns. Some of the villas we visited would be Balbionello and Carlotta and Cerbaloni and the Villa Melzi. And Varenna actually has two villas also, the Villa Cipresi and the Villa Monastero. So that's one of the things people do. Or you could just visit towns, like you can go to Bellagio and have lunch there, or you can go to Menaggio and do the same, or Belano. So those are some of the things, but we decided, we had done those things many, many times. So here is Lake Como, and there on the right side you can see the town of Varenna, and just below it is Bellagio, which you would get to on perhaps a 10 or 15 minute ferry ride, and that's going to be the venue of one of the places we talk about today. And then just south of Varenna, probably where the LAGIO of the word Bellagio is actually right over here, is another location that we went to, which I'll get to in just a moment. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Trattoria Baita Belvedere. And this is the person who recommended it to us. I don't know what we were going to do that day, but we spoke to her. She works at the hotel we stay in, the Hotel du Lac, right on the lake. Her name is Janet. She works at the hotel. She's a very nice person. And she said, why don't you go to a beautiful restaurant high in the mountains, just above Bellagio. So we decided to do it, and I decided that when we came back, we would take a photograph with her to just, thank her for that. And here's the Hotel du Lac, and this is the video, Ellen, so we're ready for that, but no sound on this at all. I can actually drop the sound down. Okay, here we go. This is the walk that we took going from the hotel to where the boat dock is located, down this very narrow street in the town of Varenna. Laura will swing to the left and show you what the patio of the hotel looks like, where in the late afternoon we would sip Prosecco looking at the lake. Very nice experience. And here we are walking through Varenna. You can see it's cobblestone all over with kind of a flatter surface in the middle, which makes, can you see that? There's like a flatter surface in the middle where you could walk down, and it's not quite as difficult as walking on those cobblestones, which are extremely difficult.
What is Prosecco?
Prosecco. See, I'm glad you asked. Prosecco is like a champagne kind of drink, but it's better than champagne. And it's served in a fluted glass, and you just sit there and sip Prosecco. It's very nice. It's a very light tasted, kind of a champagne thing. And we've acquired a taste for it over the years. Here we are walking down these, incredibly beautiful streets. Here are some tourists coming towards us. We're approaching our favorite restaurant in Varenna, the Bar Il Molo, where we've had many, many meals over the years. And we've photographed the owner, Simone Deghi. This is the gelateria, where they serve some of the best ice cream I've ever tasted in my life. You wouldn't expect that on Lake Como, but it's quite an amazing thing. There are the tables. This was in the morning, so people were not, had not started coming to the restaurant yet. There's Lake Como in the background. There's the restaurant with the pizza sign. The pizza is amazing. And that table right there is a table that we usually sit at. Laura's going to come around to it again. That table is the table that we sit while we have various meals, looking at that view. So, why do I go to Italy so much? How would you like to have nothing to do but sip Prosecco and stare at that all afternoon and have some beautiful salad? Okay, that's the end of it. All right, so on to the next photograph. And this is the path that you take to get to the boat dock. So you go through there, which is really, this is what it looks like from the other side when you come through that archway. It's a walkway that goes right along the town from, the place where I just showed you to this spot, which is the boat dock. And you can see that there's people hawking their wares underneath that awning. And that's where the dock is, where the ferry terminal is, a little park for children, a really cute little park. No dogs allowed. And there's the ferry schedule. So before you find the ferry that you want, you look on the schedule, pick out the ferry that you're interested in. You go up here to the ticket booth. There I am on the right side with a hat, waiting my turn to pay for a round-trip ticket to Bellagio. And you leave from that dock, you get on that boat, off you go on the boat. There are the other people. And, that town in the background is the town of Varenna. So we've actually gone a little out from the town, and we've made a left turn. It's the process of making a left turn, headed towards Bellagio. And this is the views that you pass going from Varenna to Bellagio. Trying to get rid of both that arrow on the right and yeah, there I go. Okay. So this is the scenery going from Varenna to Bellagio. Past some pretty amazing towns at the foot of the mountains. The open sea headed in the direction of Bellagio, which from Varenna is to the west, almost due west. So more views of the hills around the town, the various towns on Lake Como. This is actually mid-lake. Lake Como, as I showed you on the map there, is big. This is the middle of the lake, and it's known as mid-lake. And you could see just spectacular looking scenery with beautiful water and hills in the background. And that's the beginning of Bellagio. That's the boat dock. The ferry is about to dock at Bellagio. That's looking back towards Varenna, but that's what the town of Bellagio looks like, right on the boat dock. And you disembark right over there. And there you see the ferry in the background. We had just gotten off the boat, and Laura turned around, took that photograph, and then we began to walk around the town because we were a little early for our scheduled shuttle ride up to this restaurant. And this is what Bellagio looks like. Bellagio has these steps going up, known as contrade. This was the shuttle driver. His name is Alessandro. His hair, sort of matched the shirt I was wearing. Very nice fellow. Gave us the thumbs up, put us on this shuttle bus, and there's the name of the restaurant, Trattoria Baita Belvedere, and he was going to bring us up to this unbelievable restaurant that we had not been there yet, but we were told was quite amazing. So here we are leaving the town of Bellagio, headed towards the road which takes you up to the top. And these are the views we passed as we were in the shuttle driving up to the top of the hill. And it's actually a little town just outside of Bellagio. There's the road. I would never drive on a road like that anymore, but he had no problems getting up that road with these views in the background. And we pulled up right over there, went down those steps to this spot, and okay, here's the story. So I contacted the owner of the restaurant, and I wanted to know a little bit more about how the restaurant got started. So I'll go back here, and then I'll go to the picture of the children. So here's the story, and it's not written in the most perfect English, so I'm going to try to, paraphrase it as much as possible. The inn, which is the trattoria, comes from the desire of our father, Giacomino, who as a child dreamed about the creation of a restaurant in the Uncle's Wood. That's what they called it. A place with a spectacular view over Bellagio. When he was a boy, he started to build it himself during his leisure time. The restaurant opened in 1981, and we, still 4 little children, started to work helping our mother, Elisabetta, the cook. So here were the children. And there's 4 children who run the restaurant. And that's a picture of the children plus some of their friends. I just found it an adorable picture of the children. Our country cooking resumes the tastes and frugality of meals of the rural world where our parents grew up. As adults, we decided to pursue the traces of this dream. Alessandro, cook, graduated. So what they're trying to say is that he's a chef who graduated from a school. Chiara, who is the accountant and manages the restaurant, plus 2 other children of those parents, Christiana and Isacco, respectively. Agriculture graduated from an agricultural school, and dairyman. Continued the activity of farmers as their grandfather Basil did when he started, when he was, I guess he's the father of Giacomino. Their father is Giacomino, the grandfather is Basil. In 1998, they created a farm called Edren, D-R-E-N-N, and the restaurant uses their products, milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, berries, jam, and mustard. And there are the children. I don't know which children. I asked that question, but they didn't tell me, but that's the children who eventually grew up to own the restaurant. Here is what the restaurant looks like, as we entered. We walked up that ramp, and this was the indoor part, which we did not want to sit in. We wanted to be outdoors. So, if you want to sit indoors, and people do during the colder months. But this is where we sat. That fellow with the hat, of course, is me. I should say, using the proper English. And this is what I was looking at. This is the view we had from the table. We had some pretty good food, very good food, overlooking this view, looking to the west, and this view looking to the north. And, This is really, really something. Looking straight down to the left is the town of Bellagio. Looking to the right, across that little waterway there, is probably the town of Varenna. And this is what Lake Como looks like from the restaurant Baita Trattoria Belvedere. Another view of Lake Como from the top. And we had a wonderful meal. And we thank them very much. I didn't request an interview because I just didn't have time. Like we had heard from that lady Janet at the hotel about the restaurant, and we just simply got reservations and went up there, and I didn't get a chance to really plan it. That's one reason. The other reason is sometimes I feel like just going to a restaurant and enjoying it, not as the producer of Alan's Italy, but simply as somebody who's just enjoying the restaurant. So next time when we go back, I'll try to get an interview. We will definitely go back. So back to Bellagio, and we're walking around there. And going back to the boat dock, which was right over here, and we head back to Varenna, and that's the way back. Later afternoon, so it's not quite the same light as we had, but you could still see the beauty of Lake Como as we head back to Varenna. A closer up view as the ferry is swinging into position at the boat dock, which is right there. And then, of course, we use the walkway to head back to the hotel. You could see that tranquil, just unbelievable tranquility and peace. And then we talk about Fiumelatte. Fiumelatte, this is Fiumelatte. Let me read about it. Well, let me get to the spot, and then I'll talk about it. Incidentally, Fiumelatte means fiume means river, latte means white, milky white. The Milky White River. You'll see why in a moment. We started out at the Villa Monastero, and it was our intention to walk through the Villa Monastero to get to the town. There's the town of Fiumelatte in the background, right? Just to the left of that, tall little cypress tree there. But we couldn't get in because it was closed. And we had been there a couple of times before, so, we knew what it looked like. And Laura seized the opportunity. That's the entrance, which we were not allowed in because it was just not open. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot to walk. But Laura seized the opportunity to walk along the top part of the villa, on the walkway where the cars travel, headed towards the town, to get some really beautiful pictures from above. And these are some of the photos she took on the walk that we took from Varenna to Fiumelatte. It turned out to be, I would say, about 1.5 kilometers, which would measure probably a little less than a mile to get to this location. So we did, quite a bit of walking to get there. And the walkway you see there on the lower left-hand side is the walkway through the Villa Monastero, and that's the view. And we're headed right towards that town in the distance. And these are the photographs that Laura took of Lake Como along that walk. When we had been there previously, we were walking along that lower walk because we were actually, in the grounds of the villa. And this is a typical day on Lake Como with the incredibly beautiful water and scenery. in the incidentally, that town over there in the distance, I'm not sure. See, behind this is the town of Bellagio. This could be the town of Pescalo, or it could be part of Bellagio. I'm really not sure. So you see there's some neoclassical sculpture in the foreground. Spectacular views of Lake Como looking towards the west. And here we are approaching the village. And we're on the right side of the road, and we had to cross the road. This is not an easy thing to do for this reason. There are motorbikes whizzing around the curve where we were headed. So we're going right over there, and this is what we had to face crossing the street, which was a daunting task, but we somehow did it. And we took some photographs of the town. It's a spectacularly beautiful little town on the eastern shore of the eastern fork of Lake Como. And this is the spot where we actually crossed, and you can see that there's a curve in the road where if a motorbike was coming around that curve, it would not have been very pleasant. And we came to this spot. And let me tell you a little bit about Fiumelatte. Fiumelatte is a river in northern Italy. It flows from a cavity in the Grigna into Lake Como. I think the Grigna is like up in the mountains a little bit, just south of Varenna. It has an approximate length, this is the length of the river, of 250 meters. So at 820 feet, this is known as being the shortest river in all of Italy. The name Fiumelatte, composed of fiume, which is Italian for river, and latte, which is milk, is due to the milky white color of the water. One of the river's peculiarities is its annual intermittency. So it doesn't always run. It usually dries in the middle of October to reappear in the second half of March. Amazing, just in time for the tourist season. So therefore, it has been given the nickname Fiume della Due Madonne, which is River of the Two Madonnas, alluding to the festivities of Annunciation on March 25th, and Madonna del Roserto on October 7th. So that's when, it starts around March, it ends in October, and those are festivities related to religious situations. So that's why it's called River of the Two Madonnas. This phenomenon could imply that the river is in the vent of an unexplored underground cavity in the Grigna, which gets periodically filled. The river is mentioned by the name Fiumellaccio in Leonardo da Vinci's Atlantic Codex. It is the Fiumelatte which falls high more than 180 ells, I don't know what an ell is, from the vein where it was born, straight down on the lake, with inestimable uproar and noise. I'm reading the exact, Italian translation. Other authors who have written about the river include Pliny the Elder. So Pliny the Elder is actually, I should tell you who Pliny the Elder is before I go back to the photo. So Pliny the Elder, there was a Pliny the Elder and a Pliny the Younger. When Pompeii was destroyed in 79 AD, Pliny the Elder was a ship captain, I believe, and like the captain of a fleet. He went to Pompeii to try to rescue some of the survivors, and he was actually, his ship, he got so close that the ship was actually plummeled in ash that was falling, and he died. But his nephew, Pliny the Younger, was actually watching this, from a distance and wrote the entire history of the fall of Pompeii and the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. So he wrote about this, Pliny the Elder. So obviously it goes back, this spot, to the 1st century BC. And this is what it looks like from the bottom that we were looking at it from. A slight angle to the right and a slight angle from the left side. You can see it coming down. That's the river, and this is what it looks like as it comes into waterfalls. So it's really a beautiful thing to see. You know, we stayed there about, 20 minutes photographing it. And this is the town, right in front of the town of Fiumelatte. And that's a bodega. You know, we have them in the United States. This is an Italian version. It's like a bar, and it has various things you could buy, including food and some liquor and cappuccino. And it capitalizes on the name. We actually had a little snack, not outside this place, but a place a little further down, with this view in the background. Again, looking towards Bellagio. And we then began walking around the town. It's a really cute little town, not much to it, not much to do, absolutely no tourists, no people at all, in fact. We didn't see anybody. And this is what the town looks like. So this was a pleasant kind of early afternoon, late morning, early afternoon day out. And then, we would then get back to Varenna and hang out in Varenna. So this is actually looking back towards the town of Varenna to the north. And there's the sign telling you that to the left is Varenna, straight ahead is a tunnel to take you eventually to the town of Sondrio. There's the tunnel that I just referred to. And we were not going through the tunnel, we were going to the left of the tunnel, along the road, headed towards the town of Varenna. That little yellow, not little, but big yellow building right there in the center, just in front of that church tower, is the Hotel Villa Cipresi, where we have stayed many, many times, but no longer do. We now stay at a hotel that's right over here. So instead of staying here, we stay in this hotel right over there, which is the Hotel du Lac. And along the way, we ran into these vintage cars, so we thought we'd photograph them. This is how people come to Varenna. And we're continuing to walk along that walkway. We see the sign for the town. We enter the town. This is the entrance to it. The Hotel Villa Cipresi entrance, incidentally, is on the left side, right by that wall you see there on the left. And we went into the main square where the church is located. And that's where we had lunch, right over there. Again, at the Barrio Molo, at that table overlooking Lake Como. And that's an example of the gelato, what we had. That flavor is pistacchio, which is pistachio. Pistacchio is the Italian word for pistachio, with a little thing of whipped cream on the top. It's served just like that. And let me tell you something, that is unbelievably tasting ice cream. And that brings us to the end of the show. Next on Alan's Italy, I'm going to be focusing on a show by the name of Varenna, Then and Now. And this is just a little story of how that came about. We were sitting in the hotel lobby, and there was a book with 19th century photographs of Varenna. And I couldn't resist. We bought it, we lugged it back to the United States in our suitcase, and I came upon a number of photographs of 19th century Varenna. And what I like to do, as I mentioned, I think, on the last show, is that I like to find a view from the 19th century, and then look through our perhaps, hundreds, thousands maybe, of photographs of Varenna, and try to find the exact location the way it looks 150 years later. So the next show I'm going to do in 2 weeks is going to be Varenna Then and Now, where I show you what it looked like then and what the exact same spot, or close to it, looks like now. And that brings us to the end. Let me get to the, okay, it's not where I want to go, but it takes two hits to get there. And that brings us to the end. It's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you're watching this on Woodstock Public Access, that's great. And you could, of course, go to these on YouTube as well. And for tonight, that's it. Buonanotte e buona fortuna.